Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Spotlight on Success. And today I am excited to welcome Danielle Miller to the show. And Danielle is our reinvention specialist and brand strategist. And we just have a fantastic topic today, and it's surrounding how to create your distinctive brand. So, Danielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this, and I think I'm probably going to try to contain myself in the limited time because it's such a passionate topic for me, and there's so much to talk about. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity.
Well, it's great to have you here. And before we jump in, let me give everybody a little bit of background on you. Danielle Miller is Danielle M. Miller, which you need to know for her social media link on Twitter for sure, is founder of Inspired Strategic Living and is a highly respected author, blogger, speaker, certified coach, teacher, workshop facilitator who specializes in reinvention and branding, which we all need on a regular basis. A fresh voice who believes that life should be a blend, not a balancing act. I love that. She speaks and coaches women globally on building a personality brand that sizzles with authenticity, passion, and uniqueness. She speaks and blogs about branding, social media, relationship building, and work-life unbalance. So Danielle, it is a pleasure to have you here, and let's get right into how we go about creating a distinctive brand for our business. First of all, I would love for you to share with the audience why branding is so important.
Okay. When I started out as a life coach, there are a lot of life coaches out there, and particularly in the online space, and everybody is vying for the client's attention. They're figuring out how they can stand out from everybody else and differentiate themselves from the crowd. And I really started to focus in on that myself, and in turn really refined my message into a career coach, and then further refined it into a branding strategist, because that is really where my passion lies. And I love working with clients about their brand. And so it's incredibly important, just simply because of all the noise that's out there nowadays. For service-based entrepreneurs, for consultants, for solopreneurs, you've got to have a way to make your message resonate with your target market, with the people who are your audience. And the only way to do that is to create a very strong and memorable brand. So it's vital to your business.
I agree completely. If you just stop and think about the biggest brands out there that have become household names, Coca-Cola, Morton Salt, the biggies, and not that we're suggesting that you scale your business to that level or even consider it at this moment in time. But as you mentioned, it's making it personable and, key word there, memorable to your target audience. And that's, again, why it is so vital to have an expert like yourself on the show so that we can really talk about the steps for creating that distinctive, memorable brand. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us, Danielle, about some of the common mistakes? If you can give us like 3 common mistakes that women in particular make that prevent them from creating that memorable, distinctive brand.
Okay. One of the big ones is not really knowing what your message is. That's really critical. It is a huge piece of the foundation in building your brand. You've got to be really clear on your message. And what I mean by that, in essence, is really what is the experience that you want a client to walk away with after they have an encounter with you? What is your implied promise to your audience? And until you can really narrow that down, you're going to get lost in the sea of other voices out there. So that's the first thing. You've got to really know what your message is. The second thing is that you've got to know who your audience is. Again, particularly the service-based entrepreneurs and consultants, we have a lot of skills. We have a lot of expertise that we bring to the table, and deep down, we know we can help anybody, right? As an entrepreneur in a certain field, we know that we can help a lot of people. But what happens is, again, is your message is not defined enough so that you can really target that particular audience. So that's the second piece of it. You have to know who your audience is. The third piece that I find is that you've really got to stand on your beliefs and your values. And I have been guilty of this myself, using myself as an example. When I started out life coaching, I wanted to fit in everywhere. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to appeal to everyone. And what happens is, again, when you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
Right.
So you really need to make sure that your message, what you believe in, what you stand up for, what your values are, resonates very strongly to your audience. And that's, they want to follow you. They want to have somebody who's the leader, and you've really got to be comfortable with your message, with everything that you stand up for in leading the way for your audience, because that's how they look to you. And you've got to be comfortable stepping up into that leadership role. And so those are three big things that I see happening oftentimes is we tend to want to be too vanilla and not really stand up and stand out there and take the beliefs that we have and really, shout them out to the rooftops.
Right. Well, I think you hit on a really excellent point there, Danielle, in that, having the courage to step up on your soapbox, and really stand for something specific rather than try to appease everyone. I think our nation as a whole is an example of trying to be everything to everyone and not really staying true to the founding values. And in business, it's the same way. You cannot effectively be everything to everyone, and you have specific gifts. So spotlight them, and don't be afraid to carve out a specific niche based on those, which I think is everything that you're saying. And I love that. I love those 3 points because they're so important. And I think it all boils down to take the time and do the research.
Exactly. And you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of want to blend in a lot of the time and do what everybody else is doing and not really take that step outside of our comfort zone. So you've really got to get a hold of your fear, figure out what's holding you back, and you have to move past it and step out there.
Absolutely. So moving from those common mistakes into, you've done your research, you've really identified who you are, who your audience is, what you're going to do, what niche you're going to go after. What is the single most important strategy to think about for a woman entrepreneur when she's initiating that brand development process?
One of the most important things, actually, it's sort of a 3-pronged approach, and it is all about consistency, authenticity, and clarity. So you've got to get crystal clear, again, on all those points that we've talked about. You have to really know what your top 3 to 5 values are in your business, for yourself and for your business. Get very, very clear on those, and you have to consistently put them out there. I think probably I would say consistency is absolutely the most important strategy. You have to be consistent. If you're continually sort of changing things around, changing your colors, changing your logo, changing the tagline, those outer pieces, you can't really zone in on the inner work of the branding. So you've got to have that foundation first. That's the single most important strategy I would recommend, is just get very clear about how you want to be represented, how you want to represent yourself out there, and be consistent with it. Everything should be unified. Everything should be cohesive.
That's so important. And I think you really just highlighted what we probably tend to do, which is not the right approach, where we look at, the logo and the colors and the visual aspects. And yes, those are important. And yes, you want a cohesive message from the visual standpoint. But the real meat and potatoes comes in the actual wording and that message that you're sending out there. And I think that's what you just hit upon, which is just so key.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's exactly it. I mean, you've got to figure out, first you have to claim your personal assets. You have to claim the things that you are good at, and you have to be able to self-promote. I mean, really, we have such a stigma about owning kind of who we are and really stepping up there and letting those gifts and talents out And nobody else is going to do it for you as an entrepreneur. You have got to do it yourself.
Indeed. So Danielle, when you start to work with somebody, what are the three first steps that you would have them walk through to begin to develop a successful brand for their business? I know that you talk a lot about that inner branding and developing archetypes and things like that. So talk to us a little bit about the step-by-step process that you would have someone progress through.
Okay. The first thing that we would do is we would look at and I wrote some notes here, so I'm going to probably refer to them a little bit because I don't want to miss anything.
Sure.
Because it is a process, and that is one thing also I think that's very undervalued is the time that it takes to really build a consistent brand. It takes time, and you are going to refine it, and you're going to change it, and you're going to reinvent yourself over and over again, and that's perfectly fine as long as you can stay consistent with the values and the message that you send out. Everything else is really supplementary to who you are and what you're doing. So the first thing that you really want to do is you want to get a very firm handle on your assets, your personal gifts and talents, and what you bring to the table. And you want to figure out how those gifts best resonate with your audience. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that. You can take the Myers-Briggs test to figure out your personality type. You can take the Strong Life test. There are all kinds of different assessments that you can do to figure out really what your gifts and talents are and how they can best be used. And one of the best resources is your friends. Ask them, what am I good at? What do you think over and over again consistently that I show a talent for? So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to really identify the resources that you have available to you. How can you tap into those resources? Oftentimes we don't really look at them from the standpoint of building a brand, but that's really, really incredibly valuable in really narrowing down your focus. The resources that you have, what are you going to need to let go of in order to hang on to? So that's really important. One of the things that I have been very interested in and I've just been so excited about this is using archetypes in branding. And now archetypes are, the psychologist Carl Jung had hundreds of archetypes. And what he felt was that we all have these subconscious patterns in our mind that we identify with. So the idea of using archetypes in your brand is really looking for the message that you have and how that resonates with your audience. So, for example, Harley Davidson. What do you automatically think of when you think of Harley Davidson?
Motorcycles.
Yeah, and sort of that rebel, outlaw kind of, not sticking with the status quo, right? So that's an archetype. The outlaw, rebel is an archetype. For myself, my message is transformation. I want you to walk away transformed after you have worked with me. I want to facilitate some type of change. So my main archetype is the magician. And so there are 12 main archetypes that I work with when I'm helping somebody develop a brand. And we figure out, based on your values, based on what you offer, based on who you are, based on the audience you have targeted, what's the archetype that fits for you? And again, it's not an end-all be-all. It's simply a tool to help you figure out what your message is and who your audience is. So we talk about that. We talk about the constraints, the things that you don't want in regards to your brand. What don't you resonate with? That's just as important as knowing what you do want. Mm-hmm. So we work on that as well. We work on the other really cool thing about archetypes is it helps you tell your story. Because without a story, you don't have a message. So that's really the essence of branding, is being able to tell your story in a way that resonates with the people you're supposed to resonate with.
And I think that's what I love so much about your approach with your business and how you work with your clients is you help them build that story. And that, in my opinion, is the best way to help your audience connect with you because they get to know you as a person, so you're not just some, face or stuffy, I don't know, picture out
Yeah.
there, you're actually somebody that they can reach out and touch
Right.
on some level, and that's
Mhm.
what makes this so important. So Danielle, this has been fantastic. I so appreciate you sharing these valuable tips, and I think they're definitely things that women can walk away with, whether they're a new business or an established business, and go out there and really refine, take a look at the brand that you are trying to create or the one that you have, and really look at how you can tighten that message and really bring consistency from all the areas that you reach out to people, blog, social media, your website, etc., and bring that cohesive consistency to it. So this has been great. Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank
And
you for
please
having me.
just share with our audience where they can find you. Where's your website?
My website is www.daniellemiller.com. Inspired Strategic Living is going to be launching very soon, but you can find out all that information at daniellemiller.com. That's my hangout. I love Twitter, so if you're on Twitter, I would love to connect with you there, and I'm Danielle M. Miller on Twitter. On Facebook, you can find me at She's a Smart Cookie Community. I have a lot of people on there, and the conversation is always fun, and we have a good time there too. So those are the main places that you can find me online.
And you are a smart cookie, and a cute one too. So that's why we like having you on the show.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Danielle, for the wealth of information. Thank you to our audience for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Great. Thank you again. Bye-bye, Shannon.
Bye-bye.